Hi, I'm Rabbi Michael Lerner, the editor of Tikkun magazine, the rabbi of Beit Tikkun Synagogue in San Francisco and Berkeley, California, and the national chair of the Network of Spiritual Progressives. I want to talk to you a little bit about Israel, Palestine, and the struggle that's been going on there, because many Americans are fearful of getting involved, partly because they think it's so complicated, and partly because, for good reasons, they've felt a little bit ashamed of the way that Christians have treated Jews throughout the last 2,000 years of history, and hence don't want to say anything critical, even when they see Israel acting in ways that are hurtful and violative of the fundamental human rights of the Palestinian people. So here's some good news. There's a very large peace movement amongst both American Jews and Israeli Jews. So how come you don't hear about it? Well, the media doesn't respond to that movement, just as it hasn't really told you very much about the very large movement for peace in relationship to the war in Iraq. The media instead conveys the message of the Jewish establishment and of the religious right in this country, the Christian religious right, both of whom agree that the Israeli government's policies are equivalent to what it means to support Israel. But the peace movement says the opposite, that for supporting Israel, the real way to support Israel and the real way to support the Jewish people is to look at what's in Israel's best interests. And sometimes that's not the same thing as supporting the policies of the state of Israel. Similarly, and here's another piece of good news, there's a growing movement amongst Muslims who are opposed to the theory that the way to achieve final security for the Palestinian people is to wipe out Israel. The truth of the matter is that on both sides there are fanatics, there are fundamentalists on both sides, and those people on both sides do believe that the only successful path is to have total success on their side by wiping out the other side. But the vast majority of peoples in Israel and Palestine want reconciliation and peace. What they don't yet have is the political leadership on their side and the willingness on the other side to take the steps to support the most moderate and rational elements. And so, whenever there is a move towards peace, the extremists on either side take some very provocative action, and that allows the extremists on the other side to say, you see, the other side is extreme, we've got to respond in an extreme way. Otherwise, we'll be perceived as weak and not serious about defending our own interests. It's a very interesting point because what it leads to is the triumph of the extremists and actually the consciousness behind it of fear of being perceived as weak. This is a particular pathology of men of a certain age who often think that the most important thing is to project how tough and strong they are. There's a solution to this, and that is for those who are in favor of peace, in favor of reconciliation, in favor of the fundamental path that is needed, which is to recognize the validity of the other side and to acknowledge that both sides have legitimate claims, that both sides have been unfortunately treated in a morally unacceptable way by the other side, but they've also treated the other in an unacceptable way, that both sides, in other words, have not only been screwed over, but have also screwed over the other. Okay, if you get that, if you can recognize and acknowledge that, and see that in your own soul, that it's not that one side is right or the other side is right, but that both sides are right and both sides have been terrible in the way they've treated each other. If you get that, it's not enough to just get it. You need to assert it strongly. You need to bring that perspective into politics. Unfortunately, the people who have that perspective lack passionate intensity. They say it to themselves, but they haven't organized and they haven't come out to support the peace voices in either camp. Instead, they allow American politics to be dominated by a right-wing consciousness that says all our support should go to the Israeli government no matter what it does. And that doesn't help Israel at all, and it doesn't help the Jews at all. In fact, To the extent that Israel is perceived as being unfair to the Palestinian people, as oppressing the Palestinian people, as denying Palestinians their fundamental human rights, Israel is generating a worldwide reaction of negativity towards Israel and anger at Jews. It's no favor to the Jewish people to support that kind of policy. What would be a favor to the Jewish people would be for you to be involved publicly in supporting the voices of the peace movement. Well, the good news is that there is a growing movement of an interfaith movement of people who want to provide an alternative to AIPAC, the American Israel Political Affairs Committee, and want to provide an alternative voice to the right wing in the Christian world. The organization that's leading that is called the Network of Spiritual Progressives. You can find it online at www.spiritualprogressives.org. If this discussion has been stimulating to you, you can find other clips of mine on the web. I'm Rabbi Michael Lerner, editor of Tikkun magazine and national chair of the Network of Spiritual Progressives.